Before we jump into hackathons, microgrants, open grants, and beyond, I want to briefly point to our resources that we have. There is so much that you can learn just from what's out there already. You do not have to wait for the next hackathon to kick off or for your grant to be received before you can start contributing and learning and exploring. There are videos on videos on videos and docs and blogs. And if you haven't, there's a fly up here, my gosh. If you haven't heard of Proto School, who's heard of Proto School in here? Awesome. Okay, great. If you haven't heard of it, I highly recommend you check it out. It is a very interactive, self-paced curriculum that you can go through that goes through our entire tech stack. So if you're day one in learning in this Web3 world, this course is for you. If you've been around for a while, this course is also for you. You can take quizzes to pinpoint where you can dig deeper. Someone cooler than me is going to come up and talk about Launchpad later, but in short, it's a 6-week program that helps you onboard into Protocol Labs network. So there is a ton to dig into, even before you jump into a hackathon or jump into applying for a grant. So I just want to emphasize that up front. And then as you're learning and you're on your journey, we would love to be in step with you to support you via hackathons, grants, and beyond. All right, hackathons. Before I jump into it, who in here has participated in a hackathon? Great, oh my gosh. So if you saw someone just raise their hands, I'm happy to speak to questions around hackathons, but I would also encourage you to go connect with those in this room that have done a hackathon, because you're going to get viewpoints from a participant that are really, really valuable. When I think of hackathons, the image that comes to mind for me is a really embers, so just coal, the very beginning signs of a fire, where you can look at it and think to yourself, if I apply oxygen strategically, I can maybe get some sort of flame going. And then once there's a little flame, if and when that happens, if there wasn't too big of a gust of wind to blow it out, you can look at it and think, maybe I can get a full-on fire going. And that's way more fun for everybody, because now you're contributing to a group around you, and maybe that group can use the fire for something else. That, in my mind, is what hackathons want to do. They want to come in next to you and help you with those starting embers to see if we can get a flame going and to see if there's maybe potential for a full-on fire that can contribute to the group around you. There's a lot of ways that hackathon events get to make that happen. They can connect you to Web3 leaders. There's workshops and panels and mentoring opportunities. And this is not last and certainly not least, but there is a great community of creatives and entrepreneurs and builders and devs that are there too, tweaking and building and experimenting alongside of you, that you get to connect with and work with. And last, but again, certainly not least, there's the after building process of, you've done the hackathon, you've gotten to connect with judges that can provide feedback, that have seen a ton of hackathon projects and can provide input on their thoughts on where the project is going creatively, feasibility-wise, what the foreseen impact is, just general advice, things that you can take with you alongside what is hopefully and maybe a strong prize-winning money that you get to take with you from competing in the hackathon itself. So that's hackathons in a nutshell, but I would be very happy to speak to any specific questions that you might have around that before we move forward. Yeah, go for it.
How long is a hackathon typically?
Yeah, great question. It can vary. I feel like there's some that last several days, over a week. Has anyone participated in a hackathon that's lasted an extended period of time in this room? A month? Okay, so we've got a month over here. It can greatly vary based on the event.
I think, Deirdre,
Great
you've
question.
done what, 9 months or so?
A 9-month hackathon? So you really get to settle in and camp out at a hackathon. Awesome. 3 days? Yeah, okay, great. Someone's gonna be like, 10 years, I'm still in my hackathon, I'm in it right now. What else we got? There's gonna be, at the end of this presentation, a link to show you where you can go, click around and find out more about the hackathons that are up and coming. Or the ones that have already happened, and you can go look at the projects for inspiration. Cool. All right, let's talk microgrants. I hate to keep doing this to you. Who in here has received a microgrant? Nice. Okay, awesome. Well, then this is a really great room to talk to because I have found that not enough people know about microgrants because there's a really awesome opportunity here. This is designed for those that are building with our tech stack. They've had an idea and they've reached the point in building where they have at least the early stages of a prototype, and now they want resources to keep going. So they have something, they think there's something there, they'd like to keep experimenting. You can apply for a microgrant. It's the equivalent of 5,000 USD paid in fill. The application is very lightweight, I would say so even for the tech world. You're essentially providing a very clear project description, your source code, video or a link to your prototype/demo. It should be open source, and we also want to see very clear, reasonable next steps on what you hope to accomplish over a few months of time. So if you are building with the tech, you want to keep experimenting, you have that prototype, and you have a 3-month down the road goal. You are a very likely candidate for the microgrant program, and I would highly recommend that you apply. We can keep going here. Open grants. This is whenever we start pivoting the spotlight from, hey, you're building with our tech and you're experimenting, that's awesome, to, hey, you're building with our tech and you really have a vision for what can advance the ecosystem, what can bring new usage to the ecosystem. So it's not just what are you building with, it's what kind of output do we anticipate you can bring to the ecosystem. Larger than 5,000 USD. I'd say generally it's south of 100K. But the grant amount that you can be eligible for is very wide-ranging depending on what you are building and what the foreseen output is and the near long-term future. So I encourage anyone applying to ask for what you need, because we can always work with you to decide if there needs to be a more, a milestone breakdown over time. So ask for what you need. If you believe that you are building something that has a reasonable plan ahead that you and or your team can take on, that you believe has a valid contribution to where the ecosystem's going. And I put it right in here, it says middleweight application. That's really just in comparison to the microgrant application. So it's maybe the equivalent of 2 pages. The distinction here is instead of just saying what you're going to be doing, and then we send you funding, here you would have an actual milestone roadmap. So maybe you want to complete a set of deliverables within the first quarter, or the next 6 months, or the next 6 weeks, and then there's a similar deliverable cadence over the next year, year and a half, whatever the timeline makes sense for you would be. We would actually work with you between milestones. So you can report back to us, let us know how things are going, tell us what you need so we can connect you with people that can help you overcome blockers and get you the resources and the people that you need to make what you want happen. Okay, RFPs. These are ones where you maybe didn't come up with this original groundbreaking idea of what's going to happen next. Instead, we have already found things where we know are really helpful and necessary, and we would love talented, excited, motivated people to step up and say, I absolutely want that to be me, I want to knock it out. So we have RFPs out listed. Again, at the end of this, you'll see a link, but it's in GitHub. Right now, we've previously had RFPs around FBM and green initiatives. So there's always things that are really interesting, really up and coming, and there's going to continue to be RFPs that are coming up all the time. So I strongly encourage you to check it out. Some traits of this, the grant size vary, just based off of what's being asked. And sometimes there's flexibility here as far as you getting to be creative. You can, instead of having a very set pace for the deliverables expected, there's still a lot of opportunity for the talent that's coming on and taking on these challenges to really add their spin to it. So I strongly encourage you to go check it out and see what's out there to see if you or someone you know could be a really good fit. Those are our grants. Those are our hackathons.